extreme. And so what scientists realize is that the collagen, as the most common protein in our body, is aligned vertically over 90%. And this is hydrophilic, meaning that the water is electrochemically attracted to the collagen and then condenses the water. And this causes the water in the body to essentially split. And then the collagen's made up of the microtubules, and then the microtubules, the tryptophan inside the microtubule has a hydrophobic molecule, so that it prevents the water like an oil. It keeps the water out, and so the water gets split into protons and electrons, and this is due to the increased charge from the piezoelectric charge of the collagen, which also is resonated by the ultrasound. And so then when the water is trapped and condensed into a higher pressure, then it splits and it creates virtual photons. And then the virtual photons go into the tubulin as a metamaterial, so they reverse at a 90-degree angle with the photon, and then this reversal creates an acoustic energy that is the ether energy, as the Yuan Qi, or formless awareness, so that it's faster than the speed of light, but it's instantaneous in the sense that it's from the future, and therefore at zero time it already exists. And so it's due to the high resonance. And then what the scientists argue, Hameroff and Penrose, is that when life has enough of these high resonance molecules with the non-local energy between the electrons, then it self-organizes to the extent that it becomes self-aware, and the self-awareness is due to the gravitational collapse of the quantum non-dual state, so that you have the future and the past overlapping, but the present moment as a spatial experience is when the so-called hypertube of light is collapsing, when the virtual photon collapses back into light itself. And so what Ramana Maharshi is stating is that the transitional I is the moment before we have a thought, but it's the very first breath when we wake up. And so as soon as we wake up, the very first thought we have is the I thought. But we're not aware that it's our I thought when we wake up, so we just start having thoughts. And we forget that all of our thoughts are based on the I thought. And right before the I thought comes into our mind, if we're very sensitive through meditation, we'll actually see the light travel up from our lower body up into the third eye and then shine out of our eyes. And that is what happens at the moment of waking up. And so what Ramana Maharshi is literally saying is, when we turn the light around through meditation, it goes back down into the right side of the heart. But it first has traveled up from the lower body up into the brain. And it's the right side vagus nerve that is what guides and powers this relationship to the right side of the heart. So it's through a deep relaxation, just as in deep sleep, only we're doing it consciously by turning the light back around to its source from the right side of the heart. And so that's why he calls it the transitional eye, because he admits, he says, yes, we have to use the light in order to see the source of the light, to experience the source of the light. But the source of the light itself is this acoustic ether that in Hinduism they call it the Om of light, or the ether of light. And in relativistic physics it's called the supermomentum of light, or the Hypertube of light, or the Noncommutative phase of light. So what this means is that in quantum physics, the energy is based on frequency, and it's measured based on the frequency of the light that's emitted when we measure a particle interaction. So the idea of non-commutative phase is that at zero time, before there's any motion, the future and the past are overlapping, and that this overlapping is emotion, is guiding energy from the future. And this is what the Kierkegaard called the law of phase harmony. And so in non-dualism, if you read Schroedinger, it focuses on the beauty of light being able to see. And so the higher the frequency of the light means that you have a stronger relativistic phenomenon, because the energy, the momentum is based on the frequency, it's very proportional. And so the time slows down, it gets bigger due to relativity as a particle, because as Du Bois realized that since frequency and time are inverse to each other from music theory and values, therefore there has to be a reverse time in the future as the frequency goes up, and time also goes up, so there's a negative frequency as well. And so this is the same as what Kierkegaard referred to as the leap of faith, because this is the, and Kierkegaard call it the completeness theory, but essentially because of the Western logic is based on not trying to exclude time, and therefore you have like the Cretan's paradox and the Cretan's liar paradox, and the fact is that time is inherent to reality, so there's a constant motion, and therefore the leap is this non-commutative